Hi, this is Heather Picken, host of the Fearless and Fabulous Female Masterclass. You're going to learn in 90 days or less how to take your business to the next level. You want to go to the next level, you've got to align your mind to your vision and you got to take action. So I want you to take notes, and I also want you to consider to upgrade to the Fearless and Fabulous bundle. What that is experts paid products given to you for only $97. This is important because it's supporting a cause called She Should Run. And that is about getting 250,000 women running for office by 2030. I want you to be a fearless woman. Stand in your power and know what you stand for. I hope you enjoy this masterclass. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another masterclass of the Fearless and Fabulous Female Entrepreneur Summit. I'm so excited. We're just going to really dive right into it because I don't want to waste your valuable time, and I want to give you the expertise from my guest today. And I want to introduce you to my next guest, Amanda Elo'Esh. Hopefully I pronounced her name right.
Close enough.
Tell you a little bit about her. She is an international spiritual success mentor and teacher, medicine woman, and master Shipbo shaman. Hopefully I said that right. She's the author of Unlock Your Success Code and the Go Ask Alice Oracle and Tea Party game. That sounds very fascinating. Mm-hmm. As San Francisco's leading spiritual success mentor, Amanda is building the world's most heart-sacred center, a community center for spiritually oriented professionals who want to create a purpose-driven life of prosperity. She helps you to work less and live more on purpose through spiritual success mentoring and integrative sacred plant medicine ceremonies. She's shared her gifts as an expert in her field with thousands in Auroraville, India, California Pacific Medical Center, California Institute for Integral Studies, and Google. She bridges science and spirituality to create phenomenal 100% success rates for her clients. So I'm really excited to be talking about today selling your 10K programs, and this is the key, without being non-pushy with your sales conversations. So Amanda, thank you so much for being my guest today.
It's so exciting to share this. I've actually never shared this publicly before, so it's really exciting.
I love it. I love it. Let's talk about a lot of times, when it comes to sales, a lot of coaches or consultants or people that have a service-based business, they really feel like I really can't do this. They have this belief around sales and thinking if I ask them how much this is, let's just say it's 10,000, they're going to say no, or I've got some fear around that. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the beliefs and the fears that really keep people stuck. Let's start with that first, and then we'll go into what we're talking about today.
Yeah. Well, based on the work, I do a lot of work with the subconscious and the survival-based programs, usually connected with core wounds that keep us stuck. And what I find is that most of us have a subconscious story that has some kind of resonance of I'm not worthy, I'm not valuable, I don't matter. I'm not good enough. And so if that's playing for us, then there's no way we can confidently convey the value of what we're offering. And then other people pick up on that, and who's going to want to invest $10,000 in somebody who cannot stand in the value of what they're offering? Even if you can work miracles, if you can't convey that beforehand, nobody's going to feel comfortable handing over that kind of money to you.
What you're saying is so true, because I work with people on that inner level, and you could basically give someone the marketing plan. Hey, here's how you need to market it. But if they're not aligned inside, then they're never going to ask, for the sale. So what you're saying is that all of this is internal. If you want to charge $10,000 for a program, you've got to work on those beliefs that are holding you back.
Absolutely. I mean, I think most of us who do work in, an area where we have to sell, right? Sell ourselves, sell our service, our products. We know that most decisions in purchases really they come right down to emotions, and it has to be trust-based.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, I will say this, it's like you've got to value yourself. If you don't value yourself and think that you have $10,000 worth of service or more, then no one's going to buy into that. So it is kind of like that unconscious belief that, you know, to me, and I know you probably agree that everything is energy. So let's just say, oh yeah, I already know what I'm going to offer, you know, X, Y, and Z. I've got my price point. But unconsciously, if you're not believing it, people are not, they're going to pick up on that energy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You have to have confidence.
Yeah. So let's go through the process of, you know, where would someone start? They're like, wow,
Mhm.
I know that I have a gift, because I know you probably work with people that have some kind of quote unquote gift or
Yeah,
service. They've got an idea that they know they could really create a transformation in someone's life.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
when you're walking someone through the process, you know, what's the very first step?
Well, in the non-pushy sales,
Yes.
well, first of all, I'll say that when I teach people the full process that I go through in my conversations with potential clients, it's about an hour plus. So we're just sharing like the little chunk down version. So I'm going to give some of the most powerful pieces. And the first one is to create rapport. Take a moment to let them to genuinely care about who they are. Usually, hopefully there's been an assessment that they've filled out beforehand that you've read and you've looked at, and look at how old they are. Do they have a partner? Do they have children? Did they just have a birthday? You know, kind of look for things that you can connect with, so that you're genuinely coming from the heart, because authenticity is really something that's difficult to fake, and that's one of the key pieces to having that person invest.
I love that. Yeah. So really understanding who they are. I know I've been on calls before when I was looking to hire mentors, and the people that would, I just felt they were selling me. Obviously, they
Mhm.
didn't get my business. It felt awful. So
Exactly.
no one
Exactly.
wants to be quote unquote sold to.
Nobody wants to be sold to, but we all love to buy stuff. So,
Exactly, exactly. So you're saying, you know, it's important to make that connection, find out
yes.
a little bit about them so that you can create rapport.
Exactly. And then, the next step, I mean, it's not really a step, it's just a key piece to remember. Do a lot of listening. You should mostly be asking questions, and the person on the other end should be doing most of the talking. And really, the whole purpose is to genuinely discover what they need. Because if they know that you get what they need, then what you offer is hopefully going to be relevant to what they need. And hopefully there can be some flexibility. So I guess the next step is to have some components. Like my most popular program came together from listening to my people and realizing, oh, this other thing isn't quite right. And so I would offer oh, well, let's do something that works just for you, and help them help you. You're like, what do you think? Like, does this feel like it meets your needs? No? Okay, well, let's add something in. So have a little bit of flexibility to let them, that's going to help them feel like they're very special, and that you're really catering to it. Because if somebody's going to invest $10,000 or more, they don't want to feel like they're getting a cookie cutter.
Right. Yeah, it's so true. And I appreciate the fact that you said really listen to people, because how many times have you been on the other line where people would just say, oh, I'm so great and wonderful, and here's my experience. And then they just keep talking, and then you don't feel like you've really been heard.
Exactly. Whatever your credentials are really matter very, very little. I mean, I have a lot of cred, and I could go on and on and on about it, but ultimately the trust doesn't come from the cred. The trust comes from that person feeling like you give a shit. Pardon my French, but feeling like you actually care, and that you are going to be listening to them and responding. And so that means tuning in. Um, the next thing that I would say is really, really important is to let them off the hook from the beginning. So a lot of people come in and let them, first of all, let me just say, please let them know they're coming into a sales conversation. You don't have to call it a sales conversation. You can call it a discovery session, but to be super clear with people, in the beginning when I was first learning about business, I would go to different speaker events and people would offer a free session. And it would sound like I was going to get a free consultation of some sort. And it was actually a sales conversation. And that bait and switch, that ruins trust, and it
Yes.
puts the defenses up. And even if people know from the beginning, so I make sure I let people know this is a conversation to talk with me about what's keeping you stuck, how my programs can help you. That's what the conversation's about. It's still a really valuable conversation, but that's what it's about. And then when they come into the conversation, remind them of that, because if they've come to it through a summit or some other thing, they may not have remembered. And so to remind them that this is what we're here to do today. And also, if we both decide we're not a match, it's all good. I'm still going to think you're great. So we just want them to know that there's not going to be pressure or judgment about them if they choose not to. And what that does is it takes the defenses down so that they can actually drop in and be open to what you're going to share, because we're, like I said, we're all afraid of being sold to. We don't like it. So we come in with like, I'm not going to buy, I'm going to, I got to be prepared for all the gimmicks you're going to throw at me. And then all of a sudden they realize like, oh, there isn't a gimmick. She's just being straightforward. No pressure. It's all good.
I love that because no one likes, like we've been saying, no one likes to be sold to. You've got to create connection. You have to tell the person, like what you were saying, hey, this is why you're here, so that they understand. I think that's really important. I think people will also develop, like you said, they develop trust, respect. They feel like, this person has my interest, my best interest. I have to tell a quick story. So it was, someone had contacted me on Facebook and they're like, oh, are you an author? And I'm like, yeah, I've written a couple books, da, 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 da. And they're like, oh, I want to tell you about da, 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 da. Let's jump on the phone. And a couple minutes into it, I'm like, this person is trying to sell me into this author series. I'm like, I did not get on this call, I thought it was such a turnoff. I could not believe this. This is a couple of years ago. But what you're saying, if they would approached it, like you were saying, to ask questions like, what is the vision of what you want to do as an author? And none of those questions. It was all about how great their project was. And basically that was it. And then asked me to buy in. I'm like, absolutely not.
Yeah. Curiosity is really important. It's really key.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. What do you find are some of the other mistakes that coaches or consultants are making when it comes to their sales conversation?
Coming in with a sense of desperation, which I understand, like I was that desperate person in the beginning, when I first even learned. I mean, first of all, know that you have to have a sales conversation. So my biggest mistakes in the beginning were I was giving away a free session with myself, and people would come in and have a really powerful transformation and thank me and then walk off. And I just assumed that because what I was doing was so wonderful, people were going to want more and ask for it. And actually you have to say, oh, I have this thing. I would like to invite you, so realize that you have to be especially if you're going to be in the place of leadership and taking somebody through a process. We're all transformational leaders. What mine's spiritual, but if yours is business specifically, whether it's team building, you're taking somebody from where they are now to where they want to be. And so that's essential to build that connection and that awareness for them.
Yeah, absolutely. No, what you're saying is just so true. And what happens, because I know this happens for a lot of coaches or service-based people, or what they call sometimes heart-centered or
Mhm.
spiritualpreneurs, is that
Yeah.
they're asking for the sale. Like they're so afraid to ask for the sale, especially at the high ticket item.
Yep.
So if someone's just used to charging, let's say 1,000 or
Yeah.
nothing at all, and all of a sudden they're going to 10,000,
Yeah.
right? How do you explain to navigate around that, or some
Mhm.
strategies as far as phrasing the
Yeah.
language?
Yeah. Well, again, you have to really stand in your value. And a lot of, for me, I just talked about this last night to a group. A lot of heart-centered entrepreneurs and I think even not, even whether you don't consider yourself that, I think it's really obvious that there are a lot of people doing some really messed up things because of money, and like just short-sightedly losing the greater vision for creating, healthy, operable environments and cultures. And so a lot of us see what's happening in the name of money. And so for people who are super heart-based and service-based, well, I don't want to have anything to do with that. And I was thinking, what if, you know, big corporations started saying, we're not going to take cash anymore. There's this currency that's all based in service. And we want, we're only going to take payment by service. That's powerful, right? But they had to win the money game to
Right.
have the influence, like if it was Oprah or Apple, like we would be paying attention to that. And so we have to learn how to work with money, and yes, consciously work with it in a way that serves what we believe to be in integrity. So we have to clean up our money shit, because if we've got weird judgments about it and weird stories about it, and we don't know how to work with it in a way that truly serves us, then it's not gonna happen for us. I certainly had to do the same thing. I had those same ideas about money, and then realized, well, I want to make big change. I want to be generous. I want to donate to causes that matter to me. And I can't, I can't donate my food stamps. I could, but it'd be really hard.
Yeah, it's so true. And I really feel you're actually doing a disservice if you are not empowering yourself financially, because you not further your causes if you are not making a difference, and you can't create that transformation in the world if you're playing small. So you've got to really step out of your comfort zone. And it does go back to what you're believing in, who told you is bad, to make a lot of money. You've got to be beyond financially stable, because the more money you make, the more influence you can have. So if we look at powerful influencers in the world, like an Oprah, she can actually put her message out there multiplied because she has wealth. And that's where you really want to look at making a lot of money. Make as much money as you can, and really create a message and a mission that can transform the world. I think if people look at it that way, they'll start creating a shift. And I was reading somewhere, I think it was on Business Insider, that the average age of a millionaire is 37. Think about years ago when that wasn't true. So now we've developed this new kind of consciousness where, wait a minute, I can't charge for a $10,000 program. I hear everyone else is doing it, right? Well, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, the whole money piece, again, it's really just a concept. I mean, I know that when I was doing really amazing, I still had the same skills and wisdom pretty much that I have now as far as my offerings, but back when I didn't know how to stand on my value and listen to somebody's pity story and did a session for them for $40, they didn't really get any transformation out of it. Now that I actually stand in the value, that conveys to people what we're doing. I'm pulling the big guns out for you. This is a big deal. And so the money piece is a way of conveying value. And I've also, I charge, I have, $10,000 programs that many people's like, this is a $30,000 program. and I know I could ask that much, and I want to make it available. I want to make it available. And then there are some people I know personally, and they're charging $20,000, $30,000. And I'm like, okay, that's good. I'm glad you're getting that. I'm glad people are paying that. And, like I wouldn't want to pay that much. So really it has to be, we all have to make that determination for ourselves, because we answer to ourselves. If you're asking $10,000 for a $500 program, you got to live with that in your nervous system. If you can get away with it, well, good on you, I guess. But it really, like, we have to, for me, if it's not coming from a place of authenticity, it's not sustainable. We fry our nervous systems when we're out of integrity. And what it doesn't have anything to do with spirituality. This is the geeky science part of me. If we are not aligned with our actions, then it really tears us down and has a toll on us. So it's important to stand in your value. And I think if you're kind of like charging a super crazy inflated fee to make people think that you're more valuable than you are, that is a house of cards that will probably crash down. We've seen a lot of that happening, with the fake inflated, egos or greed. Like, it just, we're starting to see those things crash down. So for me, I would rather people walk away saying, oh my God, are you kidding me? That was a bargain. That $10,000 program was a bargain. And to go tell all their friends, like, wow, you should, because then it makes it like, I have people that call up and they don't even need to hear it. They don't even need the whole strategy session. Like, I just want to work with you before you raise your prices. That's grace and ease. And what that does to my nervous system, to know that that people feel like they're going away with, miracles, and that $10,000 is an incredible investment, that was an amazing deal. Like, that does things to my nervous system that, charging $30,000 or $40,000 wouldn't make up for, quite honestly.
Yeah, no, what you're saying makes absolute sense. But what if, let's just say someone says, yes, I know I have a program that is valued at 10,000, but they're like, the economy is going to crash, or it's crashing now. I don't really know if it's feasible for people to do that, to charge that much.
Yeah, I would still stand in it.
Yeah.
I would really stand in it, because, I needed to learn about business. I'd been, doing the free thing, going to the free summits and conferences, and I had pieced together a really crap business model that had me working way too hard, and spreading my bandwidth in just too many different places. And I spent years looking for a program that could integrate my integrity, like, wasn't gimmick based. And I finally found a program that I really knew, like, this is a perfect match for me. It was a $10,000 program. I pretty much maxed out my credit cards. Like, I didn't have anything.
Yes.
I found, I borrowed that money, and, how could you ask somebody to borrow money? Because then it means something to them. I went to a private college, and I worked full time, and I paid my way through. And I went to a college with a lot of trust fund kids that were drinking, and they didn't give a crap. I showed up sitting at the front taking notes, like, I was in that, so I've been there. I know how valuable it actually is to push somebody and expect them, like, show up, put down the money, especially if it's not easy. They're going to value it so much more. They're going to get so much more out of it. And so I had to shift my perspective. Like, I've been on the other end, and I had no qualms about it. I totally value it. I'm so grateful. I did that $10,000 business program. It's it turned my business into a 6-figure business, you
I
know,
love it.
worth it 10 times over.
You know, it's true, because I've interviewed a lot of people. I went through the same thing, maxed out my credit cards. I would do it again in a heartbeat to grow my business. And I was that, you know, just, I'm like, it's do or die for me. Like, I really want to put my work out there. I know I've got something of value, and I'm like, I'm just going to do it. I was so scared, but at the same time, it was the biggest payoff. And so when I'm interviewing other people, you know, yeah, 100,000, 50,000, whatever their investment is, you know, to me, it's like, you can't stop investing in yourself. I found the fastest path, and maybe, you know, the people that are watching or listening to this thing and understand, it's like, if you want to create transformation, you've got to ask for the sale. You've got to ask for the money. And to me, it's a spiritual transformational act that takes place, because you are changing their life. Whatever you're helping them with, you've got to see the value on that, and that other people before, like yourself, have invested. You've invested in your expertise, and you're taking all of that experience, and then you're able to accelerate someone's results. So maybe, you know, people that are watching, they can kind of think about that, you know, why their $10,000 program is you know, really important. So when you're working with people and you're getting them prepped in this kind of sales conversation, are there any other like tips or strategies or mindset shifts that you recommend?
Well, there's always the objections, right? Like, I have to think about it. I don't have enough money. It's too expensive. So, you know, when people say I have to think about it, oftentimes that's a strategy because they just want to get off the hook.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for me, it's a really interesting conversation, because my focus is on helping people to break through subconscious patterns, which are riddled with resistance. And money is the biggest way that resistance shows up to give us a logical excuse why we don't need to actually do something different and have a different reality. So it really pushed my own comfort zone, because like, if I'm actually going to stand in my wisdom and my power as a mentor, I have to be willing to face them. So it's kind of hard for me to suggest to somebody else, but some of the questions I would ask is, okay, can I ask you a question about that? You know, this whole purpose of this call is to give you everything that you need to make an empowered decision. So it's okay if you have some skeptical questions, or you're worried about asking me some hard questions. That's what I'm here for. Now is the time. If you're going to go sit afterwards, like, I can't answer those questions. So if there's anything that you still need to know to make that decision, let's talk about it right now. You know, what can I do to help you right now? And then another piece that I ask people when they say I need to think about it, I say, you know, I really honor that. I need to too, and this is a big investment. And my question is this a process that you use on a regular basis to make decisions? And they usually say, yeah, of course. And I say, well, those decisions got you to this call. Like, you've already done the best that you can do. And the only way that you're going to have a different reality is if you do something outside your comfort zone and make a different decision. And so my only caution with I'm going to go think about it is that you're going to go back into this default that has gotten you so far, but you need to get farther. And so I know there's some fear about saying yes right now. So what is keeping you? What's like, let's get real. Let's get authentic with each other. You can tell me, I don't trust you, or I'm afraid this isn't actually gonna, you know, like, let's get down to the real objection, because they're just throwing out the, like, I need to think about it. You know, it's too much.
I have to ask my husband.
Yeah.
partner.
Well, and that, that's something that I create at the beginning. I ask them, is there somebody that would need to talk, you'd need to consult with before you can make a commitment? And I had this happen the other day, and the woman said, well, I'd need to ask my husband. I said, okay, great. Let's reschedule, get him. I said, does he know you're even looking for help? Does he know that you're actively looking for a mentor? And she said, no. I said, well, that's a really good conversation. Like, why is he gonna, if you spring on him, I didn't even know you were looking, like he should know about this, and let's get him on the call too. So I didn't waste my time getting to the very end of a full hour-long consultation. And then another question I ask is, have they been supportive of you in the past?
Yes.
Because if they're not likely to be supportive of you, how are you going to convey the value and the needs without them being on this conversation to really understand what your challenges are and what your needs are? So get them on the conversation.
I love, Amanda, that you mentioned that about getting them into the conversation, or the part about support. I cannot tell you how many times I've talked to women and they said that their partner, they were afraid to ask or go to them. I'm like, what kind of relationship are you in that you cannot say, hey, I want you to support me on it? You don't have to ask for permission. You're a woman with your own mind, and you need to go after your dreams. I always find it interesting when women are in those toxic relationships that they're subordinating to their husband. And I could speak with authority on that because I've been in many relationships. Obviously I'm in a great one now, but I would spend, it was my own money. I would tell them how much I was spending and they'd start freaking out. And I started feeling guilty about it. And I realized I attracted those people into my life going to own my own power and going, no, this is my business. I will do whatever I want. And I don't have to ask for permission. I think with women too, if yes, if you have to talk about money, that's fine. Yeah. But it should really come from the place of support. Like, I want you to support me on this decision. It's like, because to me, it goes back to what kind of relationship you have if you're scared to talk to your significant other.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So then then we get into, oh, well, you may need me for some relationship support.
Exactly. Because don't you think like relationship and money, it's tied, it is tied together, Absolutely. So if you can't be empowered in your relationships, how are you going to be empowered in your money? I also like what you said about overcoming those objections around sales with kind of like a curiosity or ease. What you did not do is push someone. I did not hear you push someone in, like, you have to do this. You were just kind of like, well, let's talk about this.
Yeah. And you asked, can I ask you a question about that? I'm really curious about something. Could we explore that for a minute? I've never had somebody say no, but if they said no, like, okay, well, if they're not interested in even, then there's something like really coming up in them. And quite honestly, I mean, I could help them have that breakthrough, but if they're not ready, if they're not by that point ready to meet me,
right,
then I'm willing to let that one go. Like, they're not a good match. It's not resonant. And so they're going to be, what I've found is like that desperation of like working so hard for that difficult client. Like, they're going to be the pain in the ass.
Oh yes.
They're going to cost you so much that's not worth whatever it is you're charging for that program.
I've learned my lesson. I've done that. And my motto is, if you have to drag them in, you're going to have to drag them around.
Yeah. Yeah. And even fire them. I mean, I took somebody on that was a little sob story-ish. I bought it. It hooked me, and, was a little like working through a lot. And then, and actually, like, before we even started the work, I'm like, I'm going to refund you your money. I actually don't want to do this. Like, this is really like, it's not I'm not feeling it. So I felt bad about that one. I usually am better about discernment, but
so having clear boundaries, I think it's really important. Like, you get really excited about selling your 10K program, but you also, like you're saying, you've got to be in alignment with that person energetically, because if you're not, it's going to be, just wait and watch, because that person is going to be demanding, entitled, a pain. You want to get on the phone and be inspired and talking to your clients, at least I want to feel that way. I don't want to be like, oh, great, I have to do this.
And the last one I'll say is to be the kind of client you want to have. You know, so there's a women's mastermind I'm a part of, and the salesperson, she's, you know, called me, she's a new person, and to sign me up for the program. Like, I'm ready. You know, like I know everything about it. I'm really excited. Here's my, you know, credit card. She's like, oh, that was awesome. That was easy. I'm like, yeah, maybe so for all of us, you know, and to, you know, to really show up with integrity, make wise decisions for yourself. When you make a financial commitment, like if you don't want a client committing to do a program with you and then, you know, doing a chargeback or whatever, like, be the client you want to have. It's really important.
It is so true. And years ago, I had a person that just wrote all this bad stuff about me. Long story short, I mean, I just didn't know any better. She invested in my program, did not tell her husband. And then she signed the contract, and it was just a big mess. And then, you know, I was like, well, you know, should I give her a deposit back? Like, I was really, to be honest, I was thinking more about the money. I'm like, she signed this legal contract. But anyways, it really turned out to be the biggest lesson and blessing for me. What you're saying is don't work with clients that, you know, that haven't talked to their significant other, you know, decision makers, and don't hang on to them just because you want the money. But, you know, we have to learn these things. At least I did.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you're making a clear communication of who you are, who your ideal client is, even, you know, to them, to yourself, to source, if that plays into your life, that clear communication of standing again in your authenticity and your integrity, every single time, and I've had it happen with the people that I teach this to, like, oh my gosh, I you know, said no to that person and this amazing new client showed up. And it's like, yes, it happens almost every single
I
time.
love that. I really want to pause and reiterate what you said. It's like not holding on to people, only working with people that are alignment, and saying no, because that next person will walk through the door. You're opening yourself up.
Absolutely.
I love that. Amanda, I could be talking to you for hours. I think you are absolutely amazing. But we're out of time. And before we go, I know you have a special gift. So can you tell us a little bit about what that is? And for people that are watching or listening, you'll find it right below this video or audio.
Yeah, it's my spiritual success mentoring kit, and it includes an ebook that I wrote called Unlock Your Success Code. And it's a description of the system that I created for shifting the subconscious patterns that have us stuck, working too hard, painful, repetitive patterns that we can't seem to break out of, being stuck in our business, not able to break through to that next level. And then there's a guided journey that I created so that you can go through the practice without having to memorize it, which is awesome. And then the third piece is a discovery session, a Live Your Purpose and Prosper discovery session, to talk with me about the programs that I have and how they might be a match to help you to get through whatever blocks you have going on.
I love that. I encourage everyone to go ahead and download Amanda's gift, take her up on her offer. And Amanda, thank you so much for coming to this masterclass today.
Thank you so much.
And I just want to close out this session to hopefully you've taken notes, you've internalized it, watch the replay, and realize that you have value to put out there, and don't be afraid to do it, because realizing that you can transform someone's life. So go after your biggest ambitious goals and take action. Until next time, this is Heather Picken. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. So I hope you enjoyed this masterclass. Now, my question for you is, what are you going to do in the next 90 days? I want you to take action that is aligned with your ambitious goal. You know, when I work with clients, I actually show them how to change the neuroplasticity of their brain. And part of the process is really understanding, you know, what goal, what action that I want to take is actually in alignment with my vision and mission and purpose. So you want to make sure that you have that. My other ask is to consider doing the Fearless and Fabulous Female Bundle. That is an upgrade, and it's $97. It runs throughout the summit. The reason why that's important is, number one, it's going to accelerate the rate in which you start attracting your success with some of the strategies that these experts are offering you. Number two, it's actually going to support a cause called She Should Run. As I mentioned earlier, it's about getting 250,000 women running for office by 2030. As women, we are so powerful, and I believe we're really living in an interesting time that we can change the world with our work. So again, I hope you consider the Fearless and Fabulous Bundle, and I want you to take action, okay? I'm going to be checking up on you.